Hi everyone, this is Mr. Neil Wright here, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. So this is of a patient who attended reporting a blocked right ear, and the first ear that you saw was the less blocked left ear. And so we're just commencing with their worst ear, their right ear, and it's not actually earwax that they have. They've got dead skin, dead keratin that's built up inside the ear, and it's formed into a big ball. And this keratin ball extends right from the entrance where we are right now all the way to the eardrum, so it's quite a substantial blockage. And we know we're at the entrance here because you can see these hairs. Now these hairs, these cilia, are in the ear. They're only located on the outer third of the ear canal, and that's the cartilaginous portion. And the inner 2/3 of the ear canal is made up of bone with a very thin layer of skin, so it's not possible for any hair strands to form and to sit on the bony part. The cartilaginous portion, the outer third, the skin's a lot thicker. It's a millimetre in thickness. It's made up of cartilage and there's some insulating fat there. And so that's where the hair strands are. And matted with this dead skin is some hairs. You can see those there. Now, you may ask, how did the skin get there? Now, our ears are lined with skin. And as the skin dies, the ear has evolved over millennia to naturally shed the skin out of the ear on its own accord. If it didn't, then our ears would be like this patient's. They'd be full of dead skin and you would require to have your ears clean on a regular basis. So if you've got dead skin on your scalp or on your arm or any other part of the body, through washing or bathing or through friction, so just when you're putting your clothes on, for example, these dead skin flakes just fall to the ground. But in our ear, if they just collected, it'll block your ear and you wouldn't be able to hear. So the skin in the ear is quite unique. As it dies and sheds, it should move sideways, almost like a conveyor belt motion. So the ear, it secretes skin, this skin dies, and underneath that you've got another fresh layer of skin, and that forces the dead skin off the canal wall, and the skin then just slowly moves sideways at a rate between 1.5 millimeters to 3 millimeters a month. That's similar to the growth of our fingernails. So there is a bit of variation there. But with this patient, this skin, it's died and it's shedded, but it hasn't migrated. And then you get like a layer of dead skin sitting on another layer of dead skin and so forth. And you can describe it almost like an onion. You have different layers. So skin has this property of being quite elastic. It's got a lot of kinetic energy because the skin folds upon itself and it stores a lot of kinetic energy, and it can be quite springy, it can be quite tricky to remove because the outermost layer of skin of this plug is still semi-attached to the canal wall, so we have to really, you can see, maneuver this. Now I could have at this stage used the forceps, but I was already using the sucker, so by the time we took the sucker out and grabbed the forceps and went back in, it would have taken longer, so I've just continued because we're almost there now. And you'll see in a moment there's going to be a big plug ball of skin. So we're just teasing it left and right, and we've brought this forwards to the entrance. And it's almost out now. So the patients, you can see they have got quite a hairy entrance of their ear. And I'm just putting the sucker slightly further in, slowly but surely wriggling this out now. You can see I'm using little wriggle motions. You can see that skin now, the outermost layer, that was also attached to the canal wall. I've got a good still image close-up there of that plug, so if you watch till the end of the video you'll see that. So the ear canal's clear now, we can see the eardrum in the distance, but there's just this another layer of dead skin that's forming. Now, obviously of course I'm going to remove this, but this is not a one-off fix. So this patient is going to they are already coming on a regular basis. So we can remove as much as we can today, but will get blocked up again. But whilst we're here, we're going to try and remove as much as we can. The eardrum, you may notice it's retracted, it's sucked in. If you look at the centre of the eardrum, the hammer bone, so the malleus, what we call it, the medical term, the bit that the malleus attaches to in the middle of the eardrum, we call that the umbo. It's almost like the bullseye. That region's pulled in, and so is the top part of the ear, the attic. So there is a bit of dead skin behind that. I did try and remove as much as possible, but we would have to almost get this sucker behind the bone, the malleus bone, which would be very difficult, and we don't want to risk that. So you can see the eardrum there. It's sucked in right in the middle. So they've got a bit of eustachian tube dysfunction, so negative middle ear pressure. There's a ventilation tube behind the eardrum called the eustachian tube that connects to the back of the nose. It's also a drainage tube. So we want the air pressure behind the eardrum to be equal to the air pressure in the atmosphere. And when the air pressure is equal either side of the eardrum, that's when our eardrum is at its most mobile, and therefore that's when we hear the best. But if this tube, the eustachian tube, gets blocked, and it typically gets blocked where it attaches to the back of the nose, the nasopharynx, there's no air behind the eardrum. It can't travel up the eustachian tube because it's blocked. So any remaining air is absorbed by the cells within the middle ear. And then that creates a vacuum effect, a suction effect. So the eardrum gets pulled inwards, a bit like when you're on the plane, when you're descending on an aircraft. And that's what causes the eardrum to buckle inwards. So the patient's been recommended to use nasal decongestion sprays. They have got a bit of a cold, so it's very likely that the congestion in their nose is blocking the eustachian tube. So once the eustachian tube becomes unblocked, they should be able to equalise the air pressure. So this is their left ear. This wasn't as bad. There was a bit of dead skin as well, but nowhere near as bad as their right ear. So just peel that away. That eardrum is also retracted. Not as, I wouldn't say as much as their right side. Here you'll notice the top part of the eardrum, the short process. You probably missed it, but that was quite prominent. So. And that's that big plug of dead skin. You can see the coiling motion of that skin. See the different colours. So some bits are dark, some bits are light. The darker bits are the older pieces of dead skin. So it's oxidised, whereas the lighter bits are the more freshly secreted dead skin. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys, and you're all keeping well and safe. Do stay tuned. I've got loads more videos to upload in due course. Thank you. Bye.